Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Cam and you are watching Darling and Dear Leather how-to tips and tricks. And today we're going to be working on a very simple project, which is this awesome tabletop gaming dice bag. This dice bag is, of course, made from leather and with an inner bag of lambskin suede. Okay, so it gives it a nice soft feel on the inside. This bag is large enough to hold about 56 die. So yeah, plenty. um, Essentially what we have is two different components, and I'm going to be walking you through how to create the entire bag. If you are watching this because you purchased the template that goes along with this video, then you're definitely in the right spot. If you haven't gotten the template yet, you can definitely check it out in the link below. Um, Otherwise, it's going to be pretty simple to figure out. I will walk you through step by step, so let's go ahead and dive right in. So the pattern we're following along with is basically these two pieces right here that you get from the actual template when you purchase it. So I always recommend that when you're printing, you either print out on heavy cardstock, which saves you a step, or if you don't have cardstock, print on regular paper, cut it out to the actual squares on the paper itself, on the template, and stick them together. And what I've done here is I've attached this template because I use it over and over again. I attach it to cardboard stock. So this is, as you can see, this is from like Costco's diced tomatoes, right? It's not super thick cardboard, but it's not super flimsy either. It's got a nice stiffness to it, which is perfect for using over and over again. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to use this. And the bag itself that sits inside is actually really just a circle. It has a circle with specific holes for the for attaching to the actual base of the dice bag. And once the bag sits inside, we glue it down and then we stitch it. But let's start with the first process, which is going to go ahead. Let's go ahead and get a piece of leather, and so we can trace this out. Okay, so what I'm using here is a piece of 6 to 7 ounce veg tan leather. This is from a single shoulder. Now, you don't have to use this specific weight or this specific type of leather. This is a very simple project which can be done with most different weights of leather, whether it's pre-dyed or what have you. I mean, you could probably even use Chrome Excel leather if that's what you have. This is a very versatile template. It's not specific. I just like leather that can be tooled, which veg tan can definitely be tooled. So if you want to go for like a basket weave pattern, or even something like a like a dragon scale, which I did for another customer, pattern, that is possible with veg tan. But if you just want plain color or whatever, then any other leather will work just fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and get this traced out. Okay, so now we have the primary shape cut out. Now it's time to go ahead and get these holes punched in here, so that way everything kind of lines up here. Okay. All right. I've got everything positioned on top of this granite slab, and I have a punching mat, which is this acrylic slash plastic, whatever it is, and I've got a hole punch here to match the size on the template. You can use a rotary punch, or your preferred method of making holes, just as long as they're clean. It's no problem at all. Okay, and I'm just using a poly mallet. It's a 1 pound mallet, pretty useful for sure. So, all right, now this has gone all the way through, which is exactly what we want, and then we kind of just twist to work it out of there. There we go, and we've got a nice clean hole there to match the template. Same thing for the other one. Okay, and then we've got a slot hole right here. Now this is designed for this part right here. Okay, so that way when someone goes to open and close it, it doesn't get stuck on there. You can see it just kind of snaps on, and that's exactly what we want here. We're going to make a large hole and a smaller hole and cut a slit in between them. Now they make these exact types of punches that you can just purchase, but I don't happen to have that, so I just do with what I have, which if you're beginning, you know, that's definitely something that you would be doing yourself, is just making do with what you have, right? Okay, there we go. And now for the smaller hole there. Now I won't cut the slot until I have everything taken care of and I've got this template removed from the leather. So I'll take care of that in a little bit. All right, we're going to turn around, and then we've got another hole here. And then I literally have it written here that it says, this hole is for the button stud, which is what I just showed you. This is where you would screw the stud onto, and then this is where it clamps over it. So pretty straightforward there. Okay, let's make sure the template is still lined up nicely. The last thing you want to do is have an off-center hole. That's definitely never fun, because that means you have to start over. Okay, and then right here, I've got two more holes to punch for the cord. Now, in regards to the stitch holes, I'm not going to follow my own template when it comes to the stitch holes, just because I know exactly where I want the stitch holes, which is this exact distance from the edge. However, if you'd like to individually punch all these stitch holes, be my guest. I just find that, you know, marking the edge myself and using my own stitching punches, it's just a lot faster than following the dots, right? As long as you have on this side, it doesn't go, the stitch holes don't go all the way around to this end here, that they go just above these two holes. And then, but on this side, which is shorter, they do go all the way around the edge, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look and see what the leather looks like. There we go. It's looking pretty good. We've got nice even cuts. So for stitch lines, I'm going to go with a 4mm groove. Now I've got this tool right here, which is perfectly set at 4mm, and I'm just going to go around the edge here and mark my stitch lines, and that just makes things a lot easier for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and start right here. Remember, we're not going on the long part, we're not going all the way to the end. We're going to be going right above the lacing hole right here. Okay, so I'm just going to follow that edge. I've got the tool pressed up against the edge of the leather, which is another reason why you want the leather to be nice and smooth, because if your leather is not smooth on the outside, your stitching line is not going to be nice and even either. You want it to be exactly 4mm all the way. And on this end, we're going to go all the way to the corner around that tip there. Okay, don't be afraid to move your work around, because the last thing you want to do is mess up because you have your arms all twisted in a pretzel. All right, there we go. Go all the way. Okay, and I just kind of do a nice even turn there. See, that's going to be nice and even. All right, there we go. and all the way up to here. And now for this line, I don't have an edge to follow, so I'm going to need to use a ruler, which is fine. I've got plenty of rulers. I'm going to use this ruler right here. It's a stainless steel ruler. It has a cork backing. So I'm just going to go ahead and line up my leather so the edge is following one of the lines on my cutting mat. And I'm going to find my mark that I left off. Okay. And I'm going to just make sure that I've got a nice straight 90-degree angle here. Okay. And then I'm going to use just one edge of this and follow the ruler. Okay. There we go. Now I've got a nice straight line right there, and that's looking pretty good. Okay. So now we've got all this set up. Now, the next thing that we could go ahead and do is do some tooling. Now, this is completely optional. You can make this look exactly how you want. The only two areas I'm tooling are this area and this area. And because this is for an actual customer who decided they wanted their name, well, they wanted their initials, I'll be putting their initials right here where the flap, just like I have it on my bag, which I have my name, Cami, written right here. They're going to have theirs right here. So you can literally put anything you want on this. This circle is the bottom of the bag. So this circle will sit on the floor, or on the table, I should say, more often than not. So what you put down here is inconsequential, really, because you're not going to see it that much. I always color match this area, but yeah, I basically, because that's the bag right there, I'm going to just tool these two areas and stamp the letters in that they want, and that'll be it. And then I'll let it dry, and then we move on to the next step. So let's go ahead and get this cased here and move on to that step. Now, when it comes to casing leather, when you're getting it nice and damp, you don't want to oversaturate it. If it takes more than a few seconds for the water to soak into the leather, you're pretty much there. Here I'm showing myself doing some basket weave stamping. Of course, this can be any sort of stamping or tooling that you prefer. The limit truly is just, your own skill and what tools you have available. And the same goes for the color. You can color this or dye it. In this case, here I'm using an oxblood red as the customer requested. However, you can do any color that you prefer. The previous customer's order was a dragon scale stamp design with Kelly green, which came out really nice. But or if you want to do antiquing, or any color really, the limit is again what you have on hand or what you can get a hold of, but you can truly make this yours however you'd like. Now we are cutting out the inner bag that goes on the inside of the dice bag. Now here I always use lambskin suede. It's a really soft material. It's all natural because it literally comes from lambskin, and it's just a really nice feeling material. I also use it to line wearables like bracers or collars and stuff like that. It feels really great against the skin, but in this case, it just works really great as an inner bag for this dice bag. And here I literally just set down the circle template, and I'm cutting it around, all the way around. I'm making a rough cut first, and then I will make a more exact cut. You want to just keep constant pressure on the template itself so it doesn't slide around once you start actually making the exact cuts to make the perfect circle. All right, and once you have your lambskin cut out, or any other suede that you decide to use, we're going to go ahead and place this bottom piece all over the actual circle, so that way we can line it up. We want to make sure it's lined up so that way both sides are even, so we can use like a ruler and just double check to make sure that we have the right width. So you just kind of want to make it nice and centered there. And what we can do for this step to get this piece glued on before we stitch it is that we can use contact cement or leather weld, which is what I'll be using. Contact cement is pretty stinky stuff, so I prefer this, especially here in a closed environment. Leather weld works perfectly fine, and I've had no issues with it. Basically, how I do this is I go ahead and just lift up one side of it, okay, and I go ahead and lay it down onto the actual lambskin suede. Okay. And then I can start to lay this down and make sure it is completely, it has great coverage there. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing, just keep laying it down and laying down more glue. Okay. We're going to go all the way to the end here. Just like that. And we're going to let this sit for a few minutes before we do the other side. So just kind of keep firm pressure on it, just like that. So here we are. I skipped forward a little bit, but basically you're going to be following the stitch lines. When I made that 4mm space, you're just following that 4mm spacing line to do your stitches. When you're going around the circle, you're going to be using a 2-prong, so that way you can make a really nice circle, and then you can use a much wider, or I should say a higher prong stitch punch like I have here. It is this is a 6-prong punch, and this allows me to go longer distance much faster because I can just lay down 6 holes at a time. And you don't have to use the exact spacing that I used per the template, like I mentioned earlier. You can have much tighter spacing or wider spacing. Just keep in mind that the tighter the stitching is, the more stitching you're going to be doing. So especially if you're a beginner, or if you don't have a sewing machine or whatever, then I would recommend a wider stitch punch for this purpose. And then, of course, is the stitching itself. I'm just using a regular saddle stitch here. I won't be going over how to make a saddle stitch. That'll be in another video, probably. Once you've completed the stitching, you can go ahead and punch the holes through the old holes for the lambskin. We're going to use the same size that we used on those original ones, and on both ends. So 2 on this end, and then 2 on the other. And then we'll be punching 14 more holes, 17 on each side. And the way I centered these is I just go right in the middle, and then in the middle between the edge of the leather and the middle hole, and then in the middle of those. So it's quite simple to actually just go ahead and punch all those by hand. You could actually pre-punch these before you stitch it onto the main leather by folding it in half twice. And there you have it. Once you have the lacing done, which is just basically taking your leather cord or whatever, going right through each and every single hole of the dice bag, you can cinch it tight and then close it using that button stud on the front. And it's very simple. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and hit like and subscribe for me. That helps me out, and it shows the video to many others just like you looking for a simple and easy tutorial. Remember to check out the free PDF template in the link below.